Inuyasha knew the promise he made to Kagome a short time ago would be broken the moment she left the wolf den. He knew, even with his followers with him in battle, that this was a lost cause. He and many others would die, but he didn't regret a thing in that moment, not even as he was fighting Koga one-on-one. All that mattered to the dog god was that his beloved mate was safe. "You know you don't stand a chance, Mutt. You and your puny army are outnumbered at this point," Koga boasted as he gestured to the dead army of demons of Inuyasha's lead. Even Sango, Kohaku, Moroku, Kilala, and Totosai and his bull were surrounded. "Just give up, Mutt-face. I'll be sure your death is painful and slow." Koga sneered cruelly as he kicked a worn-out Inuyasha into one of the cave walls in a daze. "My lord!" Moroku shouted in alarm as he tried to aid the dog god, but he was stopped when a wolf demon punched him in the gut, knocking the wind out of him as he fell to his knees. "Moroku!" Sango exclaimed as she rushed to the monk's side, while Kilala and Kohaku stood in front of them protectively. "Oh, this is not good." Totosai trailed off nervously as his bull huddled close to him for comfort. "What do we do? We're outnumbered and Lord Inuyasha is down," Sango stated, helping a coughing Moroku up. "My love, I don't know what we can do. We need a miracle," the monk stated. Just then a loud roar was heard from the entrance of the cave. "Lady Kagome?" Kohaku shouted in shock. This made Inuyasha's eyes open completely. "No!" he exclaimed as he saw Kagome riding a large Neko Manta through the air, along with Shippo and Bunza. Once on the ground, everyone froze, waiting for the next order from their leaders, while Kagome slid off of Kororo's back and calmly made her way over to Inuyasha and Koga, completely ignoring Kaede's calls to come to her on the other side of the cave. "Kagome, what are you doing? Run!" Inuyasha begged, but Kagome only turned to him and gave him a smile that gave him comfort and reassurance. "Lord Koga of the Wolf Demon Tribe," she addressed as she stood between him and Inuyasha, "I have a proposal for you before you continue in battle, and I will purify you right here and now if you don't hear me out," Kagome stated in a more serious tone than anyone in the cave who knew her had ever heard. Koga crossed his arms. "Very well, but make it quick. There have been many deaths in this cave today. Both your people and of Inuyasha's for that have suffered, and for that I'm sorry, for both of you. But this can come to an end. So my proposal is that you will leave the Western lands and no more blood will spill from your pack, and mine, and Inuyasha's. People will leave you alone and not seek you out for revenge. That is my proposal," the Miko stated seriously. Koga snickered and then burst out laughing along with the rest of his pack. "You really think I'd take demands from a woman?" he shouted in a roar of laughter. Kagome smiled innocently. "Of course not. That was just a diversion. Sesshomaru, win! Now!" she yelled at the top of her lungs as a quick flash of Inuyasha's half-older brother zoomed through the cave with Batsaiga, his sword, in hand, stabbing Koga in the chest along with many other wolf demons. "Kagome, catch!" Rin shouted as she tossed her sister-in-law a bow and a quiver of arrows, to which Kagome immediately used to purify many of the other wolf demons, while Rin used a dagger to stab any that came her way, while riding a two-headed demon. "Let's do this, Aun!" the woman shouted to her steed, letting out a war cry as they flew into battle to aid Sango, Moroku, Kilala, Kohaku, and Totosai and his bull. And within the next few moments, the battle was back on in an intense atmosphere. "How did you do this? Sesshomaru said that he and Rin were going to get more allies of our father. I thought they wouldn't get here in time. Just how?" Inuyasha questioned as Kagome helped him up, smiling. "I ran into them on the way back here. They explained the situation to me, and we decided to come back here with just Aun and Kororo. My plan was to distract Koga long enough so they could perform a sneak attack, and as you can see, it seemed to have set us off to a brighter path for battle," Kagome said observantly, as Inuyasha could now see they were winning the battle. Most of the wolf demons had either surrendered or had been killed. Kagome, wow, just wow, was all the dog god was able to say as his mate helped him to stay on his feet. "Let's get you out of here," Kagome said. "Kororo!" she called as the male Neko himself came flying over to them and nuzzled her side, purring, making her giggle. "So this is Kororo?" Inuyasha asked as he let the Neko sniff him. "Yes, Kaede trapped him before all of this, and was planning to kill him later, just because he was around, and in the end we ended up saving each other. But that doesn't matter right now. We have to tend to you. So hop on, Kagome insisted as she helped her beloved onto Kuroro's back. But while doing so, all three of them failed to notice that a dying Koga had picked up a dagger from nearby, aiming at Kagome. "Look out!" Inuyasha cried, pushing Kagome out of the way. Everyone in the cave stopped and could only stare in shock as to what happened. INUYASHA, who had pushed Kagome out of range of the dagger, prepared to be stabbed himself, only to gasp in complete shock as to what ended up really happening. Kaede was standing in front of him, where the dagger had been thrown, and it struck her chest. "Kaede!" Kagome screamed as she and Inuyasha caught the old woman, as blood dripped from her mouth. "Damn it!" Koga trailed off as he took his final breath and fell to the ground dead. "Kaede, don't die, please! We can—" Kagome cried, but the older Miko cut her off. "Kagome! I'm so sorry. You suffered so much because of me. I should have done better. But I am glad you found happiness. At long last. This is why I protected him. For your sake." Kaede trailed off, and then looking to Inuyasha, "My Lord Dog God, please make my child happy for the rest of her days, and forgive my foolishness." The old woman pleaded as she felt herself slipping away more and more. "I promise I will. Kagome means more to me than anything," Inuyasha said as gently as he could. Kaede smiled gratefully. "Thank you. Kagome, live long and happily, my child. Grow and become better than what I became," Kaede said as she coughed one last time and released her dying breath. She was gone. "No!" Kagome screamed as she cried and hugged Kaede's dead body, soaking her night kimono in blood. "I'm so sorry, Kagome. I'm so sorry," was all the dog god was able to say as he held his mate close while their allies gathered around the scene and bowed their heads in respect. After making sure the rest of the wolf demons were taken care of and buried in their cave, Kagome and Inuyasha, along with the others who had fought loyally by their side, buried Kaede by a large tree not too far from the village, which Kagome insisted she alone return to tell the villagers of Kaede's death, and that she was now married to the dog god, and that she would defend the village by his side. And finally, if they ever needed her, they would simply have to pray at the dog god's shrine for help. After the villagers said their goodbyes and good lucks to Kagome, the young Miko returned to her home underground, where she was first greeted by Asagi and the other half-demon children. "Big sister!" they all shouted, tackling her to the ground. "I was so worried about you," I said, crying into Kagome's light green kimono, which her beloved mate gave to her to change into. "Are you all right?" Mogi said. "Did you teach those awful wolf demons a lesson?" Dai questioned. "I hope you did," replied Roku. "Please tell us they didn't hurt you," Shion shouted as fat tears ran down his cheeks. "Sorry, sis, we were just really worried about you," Asagi stated as she pulled the other children off of Kagome so the Miko herself could stand back up. "I can tell," Kagome said softly as she picked up Ai and gave her a hug. "But it's okay, I'm fine, and the wolf demon tribe is dead. They won't bother us ever again," she promised, making the children cheer. "Lady Kagome!" Myoga shouted excitedly as he jumped onto Kagome's neck and began to suck some of her blood, only to have the Miko smack him flat. "Thank you for taking care of Asagi and the others, Myoga," she said as she held the little flea in her palm after he picked himself up. "Well, someone had to, and they picked the most responsible one, and—" the old flea started, but Roku and Dai cut him off. "He was too afraid to go in danger as usual," Roku said, "so we begged to stay here," Dai finished. "Yeah," the other children agreed. "Hey!" Myoga shouted, highly embarrassed. Kagome giggled. "It's all right, Myoga. It was quite a battle. Anyway, I'm glad you were able to be here when someone was needed, at least." "Lady Kagome," Kohaku called from a nearby hallway entrance. "Lord Inuyasha is feeling better and wishes to see you." Kagome smiled at the boy. "Thank you. Is Kuroro with him?" she asked. "Yes, my lady, he is," Kohaku replied. "Who's Kuroro?" I asked, looking at Kagome as she set her back down. "You'll know soon enough," she said, patting the little fish girl's head as she left the children with Kohaku, while she herself and Myoga made their way to Inuyasha's room, where they found Totosai and Moroku tending to his wounds, while Sango, Shippo, and Bunzo were guarding the door, and Rin and Sesshomaru were talking to the dog god himself. "Where are Kilala and Kuroro?" Kagome asked Sango. Sango giggled. "I think they're mates," she said, pointing to the corner of the room where the two Nekomantas were in their small forms, snuggling and nuzzling each other and purring happily. "Aww," the Miko cooed, approaching the two felines and petting both of their heads. "I'm so glad you were both able to find each other. You two make a wonderful match," she complimented as Kilala and Kororo then shifted into their larger forms and began to nudge Kagome to Inuyasha. "Yeah, I'm lucky to have found my mate, too," she said, blushing to have at the dog god, who smiled and blushed back at her. After everyone else left the room to help Shippo prepare for dinner, Kagome sat by Inuyasha's bedside and took his hands. "I'm free to live my own life now, a life with you, and a happy one. And I wouldn't be nearly as happy as I am right now if it weren't for you, my love." "Thank you," Kagome said with a content smile. Inuyasha shifted in bed to lay his head on his wife's lap and took a relaxed breath. "Well, you saved my life today. But before that you saved me plenty of other ways too, Kagome," said the dog god. "What do you mean?" asked the Miko. Inuyasha smiled up at her. "I was drowning in loneliness despite everyone I had constantly had around me. I always felt the need to prove myself around them so that they would know I could protect them, even though I wasn't actually a god. And at first, I thought I had to prove myself around you too. But no, you saw me not as a half-demon, not a god, or even an abomination. You saw me as myself. You gave me comfort, and the thought that I didn't always have to be strong, but also allow myself to face weakness and smile upon it because nobody's perfect. And you loved me for all that I was and am. Kagome, I'm proud and happy to call you my mate. I love you," Inuyasha said in the softest yet also happiest voice Kagome had ever heard him use. She smiled back at him. "You did the same for me, you know. You showed me that I had strength I didn't even know I had. You allowed me to make my own choices and make friends with everyone here. You allowed me to laugh and cry if I needed to express it. You showed me it's okay to care for yourself. Inuyasha, I too am happy and proud that you are my mate, and happy to live here with you in our